Hello and welcome to Brainrain, the bilingual podcast about mental health, self-growth, and real life. Every other week, you'll be hearing an episode in English, and in the weeks in between, I'll be speaking in German, because the topics that I talk about matter, no matter where you're from or what language you speak. I'm your host, Yaggi, and I will link all of my socials down below in case you want to check that out. Thank you for clicking on today's episode, and I'd say let's begin. Let's have a little recap about the last two episodes. The first episode was about who I am and why the podcast even exists. And in the second episode, we dove right into the topic of external pressure, internal pressure, and how to deal with self-doubt. And in today's episode, you will hear about what self-improvement really is. Because I feel like we have a little bit of a distorted view on what self-improvement actually is. First up, why we need to rethink self-improvement. I feel like we get a lot of pressure about always be doing more. I feel like so many people influence us to do the most out of your days. Specifically talking about these influencers that trigger me. They trigger me. It is those 5 a.m. Let's get up at 5 a.m., drink our matcha, go to the gym, go to work, get home, clean your entire apartment and do a workout routine and then read 50 books in one evening. It is just so unrealistic to me. And I feel like it gives a wrong impression of what self-improvement really is. Because to be honest, having goals and structure is awesome. It is great. I'm not speaking against it that you really get up and do something for yourself. But please don't overdo it. It is literally going to crush you one day. It is such a fine line between working for yourself and overworking yourself. And let's dive into that. Let me explain why I feel that way. If you have 100% of energy, your jar is full. Some days you're gonna have those 100% that you can put into your life, whether that be friends, your own workouts, like eating healthy, cooking fresh meals every day, cleaning your entire apartment. That could be 24 hours of you having 100%. But every single day, it is not possible. There are some days where you're only able to do 50% and you do half of the things. There are days where you only have 10% and you basically do nothing out of your goals that you have for that day. And that is fine. You are fine. You don't need to be doing 100% every single day. You will only end up being in a burnout one day. And honestly, it is not healthy for you to be stressing yourself about those 100%. It is okay to give 5%. It is okay to give 50%. It's awesome if you have 80%, but you don't need to be pushing yourself to 100. You can start off with 2%. If you feel like today's walk is taking 50% out of your energy, then do something else that only requires 10% if you have 60% for that day. You don't need to be pushing yourself so hard to the point where you're breaking. Honestly, no, we're not. We're not doing that. We're being healthy. We're doing self-improvement in a strong and good way for yourself. Because I gotta say, I'm gonna share a little bit of a personal story here. I went nuts in my second year of apprentice. I was working 6 days a week. I was studying for school. On top of that, I was studying to get my Cambridge diploma. I was still hanging out with friends and all of that. I wanted to be the best version of myself. And I thought, if I do everything at once, I will be the best version of myself. But guess what? I am not the best version of myself because I skipped such an important part, and that was rest. I ignored that my body needed a pause. I ignored the fact that I just wanted to chill and watch Netflix. I ignored that I really needed a day off. I completely skipped that, and it was not so good for my mental health because I went insane by the end of the year. What am I gonna say? What I want you to know, real life is messy. Real life requires you to give 100%, sometimes 50%, sometimes 30%, whatever you're able to give, which gives you a healthy growth. It is so important that you don't mix up self-improvement being pushing yourself to the limits and realize that it takes setting boundaries, learning how to say no, being kind to yourself when you're not perfect and when you mess up and when you don't have energy. It is growing slowly and intentionally, not chasing perfection and doing everything at once. It is rest, and it is planning your days. It is sometimes reflecting yourself and say, I could have done more, or I want to do more. Really, it is the balance between doing what you want to do and also taking care of how much % you have to give. Those two go alongside. You need to figure out day by day. And I know a lot of people say you have to invest 110%, you have to give so much and da 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 da. Yes, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to put in a little bit more effort. But please have a reminder that it's not okay to put yourself to your entirety of your limits or even over your limits for such a long period of time. Because one day you will look back and you're old and you're like, oh my God, why did I stress my entire life to go to that goal and never rested and never took time off with my friends and never enjoyed a meal? It is just really that balance between working for yourself and enjoying what you're doing and enjoying your life. Talking about that, let's reflect a little moment. What does growth really look like for you right now? Not the Instagram version, not the 5 a.m. matcha club version. It is the real one. What does it look like for you? Do you want to be at a certain point where you need to be stressing your entire life to get there? Or can you take it one step at a time? One little step at a time. Look at life like a big hill where you need to climb, but you don't need to be running up that hill. Sometimes it is okay if you crawl. Sometimes it is okay if you move as slowly as a snail. The most important part of this message is that you're moving forward. Nothing else, no matter the pace. No matter if you're running, hiking, jogging, walking, crawling. The most important thing is you're moving forward. And that to me is self-improvement. Self-improvement is putting a little bit of percentage into yourself every single day, one day at a time, a little bit. Sometimes being faster, sometimes being slower. It doesn't matter as long as you're moving forward. All right, next week's episode will be in German and I want to talk about wie redest du eigentlich mit dir selber? Let me know your feedbacks and thoughts on today's episode. You can leave a comment or you can contact me via Instagram. And if you want to be part of this journey, like and follow this podcast so you never miss an episode. I'd say that's it for today and I hope you have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye!